Hi there! I'm so glad you could join us today for Imagine You Storytime. My name is Darek. Although I'm a Northwestern student, I'm halfway across the globe right now in the sunny island of Singapore. Today, I have two exciting stories from ancient India to share with you. Isn't it exciting how stories can unite people from all over the world? But before we get started, let's settle down and rest our bodies for the day. After the sound of the gong, let's take 3 deep breaths together. Are you ready? Take a big breath in and a slow breath out. A big breath in and a slow breath out. A great big breath in and a super slow breath out. Awesome. Let us travel back in time to our first stop at the ancient Indian capital. In the center of the kingdom lies a beautiful palace where a wise king lives. One day, when the king left his palace on business, an ugly, smelly, terrifying beast mysteriously appeared in front of the palace gates. It was so frightening and vile, the guards froze in fear, allowing the beast to walk straight through the large gates. Doom! 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 The beast made its way to the main chamber where the king's shiny golden throne was left empty. The beast walked up to it and sat down. Bloop. Mucus and grime oozed out of the beast and flowed into the intricate carvings of the throne. Once filled with the lovely scent of lavender, rose and citrus, the air now reeked the stench of rotten eggs. To make matters worse, the beast let out a huge fart. It was so smelly that the songbirds stopped singing and fell out of the trees. It was soon followed by a burp so loud that the soldiers could feel it in their bones. The burp stirred the guards, causing them to come to their senses, rushing into the throne room. Upon seeing the terrible beast on their beloved king's throne, squatting and grinning away, many of the guards drew their swords and shouted, "You ugly creature! Who do you think you are? Get off the throne before we have to drag you out!" But the beast did not flinch. Instead, it seemed to grow larger by an inch. The guards, now even more frustrated, shouted louder with more threats. The royal archers marched into the room, took their formations, and drew their bows. The spearmen rallied behind them into formation, ready to charge. But again, the beast did not move. In fact, with every hateful word, every negative action, even every negative thought, the beast grew larger and larger in size, smellier and more gross than before. Very soon, the beast was so big, it was almost as tall as the throne room itself. The smell was so bad that the guards were forced to retreat. This went on for a really long time. Fortunately, just as all hope was lost, the king returned. Immediately, the wise king recognized the beast on his throne. He opened his arms wide and said, "Welcome, beast, to our lovely palace. Has anyone gotten you a drink?" The guards were all shocked by the king's actions. Out of the corner of their eyes, they saw the beast shrink by just a little bit. Immediately understanding the king's intentions, the commander of the guards kept his sword and added, "How about a glass of our kingdom's famous honey?" He turned around and gestured to the royal butlers before turning back to the beast. "In the meantime, how about a nice massage for your feet? You must have walked a long way to get here." And right as the commander finished his sentence, the beast shrunk by a couple more inches. The palace guards and butlers immediately understood the situation and started to follow suit. Slowly but surely, with each act of kindness, the beast got a little less smaller. With every gentle word spoken, the stench became a little less vile. And with each compassionate thought, the beast got a little less powerful. By the time the honey arrived, the once towering and frightening beast was back to its original size. But the wise king did not stop there. He turned to his royal butlers and said, "Send words to the chef. Tell them to bear no expense. We are having a feast tonight." The guards and the royal butlers doubled down their efforts to make the beast as comfortable as they could. Some brought huge fans with peacock feathers to cool the beast, while others found the most comfortable pillows for the beast to rest its head. Just as everyone expected, the beast got smaller and smaller. Not before long, a final kind smile was all it took for the beast to vanish into thin air. All of the guards and butlers cheered and celebrated the defeat of the beast. But amidst the celebration, the commander of the guards approached the king in private. "Your Highness, sir, if I may, how do you remain so calm and happy in face of such a terrifying and vile beast?" The king laughed and replied, "Let me tell you a little secret. Whenever I get upset or angry, I make a really mad face. Ugh! Can you make a mad face?" I would then find a mirror or a pond where I can see my reflection. I will raise 2 fingers and turn them towards myself. And then I'll put them to the corners of my lips, push up, to make a nice big smile. And when I smile, I no longer feel angry inside, but I'm filled with happiness. Do you feel happy when you smile? And that's the story of the anger-eating demon. I hope you liked it. The anger-eating demon comes from a collection of stories from ancient India known as the Jakata tales. These are some of my most memorable stories from my childhood, and I'd love to share one more with you. So sit back, relax as we go on our next stop in the deep jungles of ancient India for our next story, the Talkative Tortoise. Once upon a time, in the deep jungles of ancient India, lived the tortoise. It looked just like any other tortoise, but this was different. It loved to talk. Some say it was so talkative that they never saw it close its mouth except to eat or drink. Others even heard it talk in its sleep. Whilst the animals in the forest were keen to talk to it at first, they soon became angry and annoyed because they realized the tortoise never gave them a chance to reply. The tortoise would go on and on and on for hours without taking a break. And the animals got so bored, they had to find different ways to leave. In fact, the problem got so serious that whenever the other animals heard the voice of the talkative tortoise, they would turn around and run the other direction as fast as they can. Luckily for the tortoise though, it found 2 geese that were willing to listen to it talk. You see, The geese had landed after flying hundreds of miles during the rainy season in search of food. As the geese didn't talk much during their flight, they were willing to listen to the tortoise talk. And for the next 3 months, that's all the tortoise did. From dawn till dusk, the tortoise followed the geese around and talked while the geese fed. 3 months flew by as quickly as they came, and with the end of the wet season, the geese were ready to fly home. On their last day, in a rare interval where the tortoise paused to drink water, the geese broke the news to the tortoise. "Oh dear friend, thank you so much for being by our side for the past 3 months, but we have to leave to go home today." The tortoise was so shocked to learn that its new friends were leaving and pleaded with it to take it along. "Oh please, geese, please bring me along. We've just gotten to know each other and I have so much more to say." The tortoise started to ramble on again, only to be interrupted by the geese. "But dear friend, you see, we're flying home and you do not have wings. How are you going to fly with us?" The tortoise was stubborn and continued to plead with the geese. "Oh please, geese, there must be something you can do." It begged and begged the geese until the geese finally relented. They thought long and they thought hard until a brilliant idea popped up. "Hold on, I'll be back." One of the geese flapped its wings and disappeared into the jungle. Can you guess what idea the geese came up with? Let's see. Moments later, the geese flew back with a short but sturdy branch in its beak. It placed the branch on the floor before explaining its plan. You see, this goose was a smart goose and knew that the only way for the tortoise to come along was if both geese carried it. It instructed the tortoise to bite onto the center of the branch, and they will carry the two ends in their beaks. "The most important part of the plan," said the geese, "is that no matter what happens, you can never, ever open your mouth." The tortoise was quick to agree to their condition and started rambling on and on about how good tortoises were at keeping their mouths shut. Finally, after the tortoise said its piece, they were ready to go. As the tortoise bit onto the branch, the geese reminded the tortoise for the final time. "Tortoise, never open your mouth until we land." The geese started to pick up the two ends of the branch with their beaks and started to flap their wings. Up and down, the geese wings flapped. It was a little tricky to match each other's rhythm at first, but slowly, inch by inch, the tortoise started to rise. As the geese flapped their wings harder and harder, up, the tortoise went. As the geese lifted the tortoise higher and higher into the air, the tortoise saw the jungle in a whole new way, with its lush green canopies and dense undergrowths. The tortoise saw all the animals in the jungle, and it was so happy to call out to them. But it remembered the words of the goose and kept its mouth shut. After flying for some time, they flew out of the jungle and across a village where a group of children were playing in the field. One of the children saw the tortoise in the air and called out to his friends, hey guys, look at that! Do you see a tortoise in the sky? Isn't it the funniest thing I've ever seen?" The children started to point at the tortoise and laugh. And in that moment, the tortoise grew so angry, it forgot the words of the goose. Just as the tortoise opened its mouth, "Who are you calling?" Plash! Luckily for the tortoise, it splashed into a pond, never to fly again. The geese looked down and shook their heads in disapproval. "If only it knew to hold its tongue," sighed one goose. The other nodded its head as they flew on into the horizon. Thank you for listening to my story of the anger-eating demon and talkative tortoise. These stories have been with us for generations and they still make people laugh and think. If these stories have been around for that long, it must be about something important. What do you think they're about? You're probably right. Well, I hope you have as much fun listening to these stories as I have had sharing them with you. Until next time, I am Darek, and look out for our next episode of Imagine You Storytime. Bye bye!